local leaders across the country are wondering when the next catastrophe is going to happen as Congress slow rolls the gun control measures that they're talking about. Wow, this is a big topic. My take on this topic, you know what, let's take a minute and talk about maybe some of the issues, Farron, that everybody's not talking about. Why don't you lead it off? What is your thought about, what are some of the issues that you think, you know, you hear, got to do away with AR, got to do away with whatever the attack rifle is, whatever the brand is, got to do away with it. But there's so many other issues that they're not talking about here that now's the time to talk about. What's your thought?
Right. I think right now what we're seeing is the same solutions that they talk about after every mass shooting. And sure, it does feel like we might be a little closer to doing something about it this time, but if we're going to do something, it needs to be things that are not prohibitive, I guess would be the word I would use. And if you ban certain types of weapons, you're always going to have a fairly large section of the population that absolutely shuts down upon hearing that. So how do you avoid that? Well, I think the big thing that we have to move towards is liability insurance for every weapon you own. Any gun you have to carry an insurance policy with that gun. Basically make it cost prohibitive. You're not taking away anybody's rights. You're not, taking things off the market or pulling them out of their homes. You're just saying...
Don't we always do? The insurance industry always does that. I mean, it's not new.
Right.
It's like if you want to own a pit bull in your home, you're going to have to pay some extra insurance if you can get insurance at all. And or how about this? How about, so somebody hoards 10, 12, 15 guns. They have to have insurance on each one of those guns, right?
Yeah, that's what I would like to see.
So that's one of the things that's being talked about. Unfortunately, it's not being talked about enough. Another thing that's being talked about, I just want to know your reaction to this. I thought it's worth discussion. I don't know that there's any wrong or right about this because it's going to take a lot of discussion. But the discussion now is that the desensitizing of violence with video games, with movies, with make-believe TV, that all of this thing becomes a make-believe process. When you have a video game, for example, and the discussion is that, kids sit for hours playing that video game where they, kill 50 people in the video game. You and I probably disagree on this. What do the numbers show on this?
Well, I just want to start by saying, if it were the video games, just the way I see it, we have these same video games in other countries, but not the violence. So that to me is kind of the big red flag, I would say. Like, well, it's not translating into other parts of the world.
Right.
But you do have, as every age group is broken down, the higher the age group, 65 and older, 82% of them think that the video games are leading to increases in violence.
the general desensitization, okay,
yeah,
right?
And it is a generational divide. It truly is. You see that in the statistics.
Yeah.
But what I do think, and this is interesting, because I don't think it's the video games, but what I do think, we see an abnormally large number of children in this country, not mass shooters, but kids, they get their hands on their parents' guns.
Oh, yeah.
A 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, and they don't understand. They know it from TV and they know it from video games, and they, pow, pow, pow. And then every day in this country, one of them shoots somebody dead.
And that raises the next issue I love that these topics are surfacing, okay? I'm just trying to go down the list of topics that are surfacing besides the old talking points, the same old talking points. The parenting. How about parental liability? It's like the latest shooting in Texas. The mother's asked, well, what's your opinion? And she says, well, he must have had a good reason to do that. I mean, that was her quote. Must have. And then she goes on and describes tell us about your kid. Well, he's a little oddball. I mean, that's what the kid is. He sits in his room 8 hours a day, no contact with the outside world, doesn't come out of his room, locks his door, and stays there for 8 hours a day.
Doesn't have any friends.
No friends. It's just you look at the kid, you go, something ain't right here. And isn't there a parent responsibility there to get involved. You can't just say, well, he must have had his good reason to go kill all these children. That's basically where she lands. So I think the idea of being able to proceed in a lawsuit against parents, that, it's like if I have I'll take it down to the real basics. If I've got a pit bulldog, I'm responsible for that pit bulldog. I've raised it from a puppy. I'm responsible for that. What's different here? You got a kid that's a ticking time bomb sitting in a damn bedroom all day long playing video games, shoot 'em up video games, watching Don't you have a responsibility as a parent, and shouldn't we put some responsibility over there on the parent? What is your take on that?
I 100% think that we need to be able to hold these parents liable, especially in instances, too, where they're the ones who buy the guns for the kids.
Yeah.
If the kid's not 18 yet, absolutely, this should be your liability here. But the parents do need to be trained to recognize some of these symptoms. Antisocial behavior, as the DSM-5 points out,
Right.
is a pretty good predictor of future violence.
Couldn't you go down the checklist of a DSM-5 with this kid and say something's not right here, okay? He's being bullied apparently. I don't know the full story, but he's so withdrawn, he has no friends. Then on top of that, he goes out with his birthday money and buys an AR-15. Ridiculous that he should be able to buy an AR-15 at 16 years old. And moreover, the idea of changing the age that you can do that, that's something that's easy enough to fix, right? But that brings in some other points. If you're going to buy an AR, what about some kind of regulations where you ask, what are you going to use this for? I'm going to use it for hunting. Great, you can use it for hunting, which is crazy. How you use an AR for 15 for hunting is crazy. I don't think it's even legitimate. But then you say, okay, if you're going to use it for hunting, you got to take a week-long hunting course, come back with a certification saying you finished the course. That's an impediment, right? Or if you say, I'm going to use it for self-defense. Great, you have the right to do that, but you have to take this self-defense course that might last 2 weeks. And you have to come back with certification before we can see. There are all of these impediments that we can put in front of it, that you're not taking away anybody's rights, you're stepping up the threshold to where we're not going to take your gun away, but we're going to make you be more responsible with it.
We're not putting up roadblocks, we're putting up speed bumps.
Yeah.
That's the point of this. Obviously you can't do anything that is going to be misconstrued as violating Second Amendment rights.
Right.
You lose, again, half the country, even though they support these measures, they'll still be lost on this issue. You get nothing done. So the insurance issue, the liability on the parents, the criminal negligence on behalf of the parents. If you have a child that is locking themselves away every day that you don't even speak to talk about what's going on, bud? Hey, you've been is everything okay? Do you want to talk to me? I mean, those are things, I've had conversations with my kids.
Grandma in this case, in Texas shooting, grandma said, you know what? I think it's a bad idea. You're 16 years old and you got an AR-15. Mom doesn't say a damn word about it. Dad doesn't say a word about it. So he shoots grandma in the head and then goes around killing children after that. There's got to be some responsibility that the parents take. And if you say you can lose your home, you can lose everything you have because you have a pit bull here. You have a pit bull dog. He's a child, but he's equivalent as a pit. That's what we do. Insurance, the law, we make that person responsible. So there has to be a shift in responsibility, I think.
There really does. And there has to be accountability with that too.
Yeah.
You can't get homeowners insurance if you have a trampoline.
How about life insurance?
Right, life insurance as well. You have a weapon that is known to increase the risk of death in your home. We're going to drop you for life insurance because you're taking risky behavior. Same thing as health insurance. Well, you're a smoker, so we're not going to give you health insurance because you're making decisions that will lead to you getting killed.
What I love about all of these, this is not my list. This is lists that's come out through after all these events have taken place. But these are things worth talking about because you can at least begin now. You can do something immediately. You can get something done right now. And this is easy enough to do. And so at least half of these things could be done very easily and would fly through Congress.
Absolutely.